Hey, folks, welcome back to the podcast. This is The Finch Show, and I am James Finch. On this episode of the podcast, my guest is Rei Kennex, and she just does everything. She is a singer, an actor, a cosplayer. She's done two fan-made Star Wars films, one called Fulcrum, one called Sakura. I highly recommend checking both of those out. They are absolutely phenomenal. She was originally born in Lithuania. She's now making home in the United States, and she's just an incredible human being. But I'm going to get out of the way. Without further ado, here's Rei. Okay, so when it comes to a character such as Ahsoka, I guess where I want to start is, do you know of a time when you remember first being exposed to the character, or even the first time you fell in love with the character?
It definitely didn't happen right away. It took us a little bit to develop that relationship with her, and I can tell it's definitely a relationship. Um, it was in Rebels. It was not until I watched the whole show until the very end that I saw who Ahsoka became, and her whole journey got completed for me at that point. And that's when I guess I related to her at so many points in time throughout her life that it just happened organically. I guess there was not just one instant that I can remember, but I remember finishing watching the show, just turning it off and thinking, wow, that's finally a character that I can so deeply connect to, that
Mm-hmm.
it never happened before.
Do you feel a not relationship, but do you relate to the character in a lot of ways? Do you feel like you have things about her that you don't like, or do you just feel like in a lot of ways you're lock and step with her?
I like everything about her, her flaws and her good sides as well. And I definitely relate to her in some very major ways. You know, we can say everyone has a character in Star Wars they can relate to and see themselves in. But this for me, nothing like that, because Ahsoka's journey is very similar to my journey in some ways. It's very personal, like leaving everything you know behind, all the people you love behind, and finding your own way by yourself in a completely new world, finding your new place in this world. It's profound. And for me, that happened when I moved to the States from Ukraine by myself, pursuing a new career, leaving everything for something big unknown, but knowing that's the right thing to do. So even though the reasons were different, but
Mm-hmm.
the outcome was the same and the emotion was the same. So that was one point. And then her journey from there, she's kind of a lone wolf in a way, even though she has friends and a team and everything. But I could relate to that introvertism of her, even though she's very friendly and kind and cares about people. And she's always this kind of lone warrior samurai that um, she's very self-reflective too, and I could see that in myself as well. And she's such an important figure. She is not the one who goes out there and gives herself to everyone. It's vice versa. People come to her, and she's like this magnet that attracts the light and something good. And that's not only what I want to be and I strive to be, but hopefully in a way I can do that with my creative work, with my project. So I see those little connecting points, and that's why I'm saying it's such a deep bond. It's not just like, oh, Ahsoka's cool, you know, and she's kind, and that's it. For me, it's those life life points and those global aspects of her, of who she is. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying I'm just like Ahsoka, but a lot of things are so similar. I'm way more crazy than she is. But in that way, I guess, yeah, those are the major things that I can see that are the same.
Yeah, I remember, sort of this weird relationship for the character, because as a character now, I love her to death for all the reasons you said. She's just a great character. As somebody who's been a fan of Star Wars for a long time, I remember when she first premiered on Clone Wars, and I remember thinking to myself, "Would this brat shut up?" It's just this little kid. Just why is she here? What is going on? but watching her over the course of Clone Wars and then into Rebels grow up and
Mhm.
mature and turn into the person that she was, and now I'm a huge fan of the character. I kind of laugh. It was almost like having like an annoying little sister that you watch grow
Yeah.
up who you couldn't stand initially, and now you just adore her so much. But I do want to go back to something earlier you said about leaving Ukraine to come to the United States. How long ago did you do that?
It was about 8 years ago,
Okay.
8 or 9 years ago. It's hard to tell because I was back and forth for a little bit before I finally moved completely. So yeah, it's been a few years.
Mm-hmm. And was it just to what was your aspiration upon leaving, coming to the United States?
Well, it was a big life change for me because previously I had an education and career in international relations and analysis. So it was very, diplomacy and informational warfare. So very different from anything creative. But I always was involved in some creative work, in some ways, mostly in music. But it was always a hobby. And it wasn't until I started winning TV shows and music contests and it started to take over my life until the point where I had to make a choice. Do I go to the States, to Los Angeles, and be a part of a TV show contest, or do I stay at my job? And I was a journalist and a newscaster, or do I stay there and just, go on with my life? And I had to quit the job to do this show, and I won it. And that's how I guess gave me some confidence and some clarity, gave me a glimpse of what it could be. And so many good people believed in me, I guess, in this way as an artist, that I could see myself doing that forever. So I gave it a go. I just decided to just try now or never. And yeah, and I think it was a good decision
Mm-hmm.
overall. Everything I learned before, all my experience in life before that, it now serves me very
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah, for sure. Especially and it's great that you did that, having that creative vision to want to go do that. So in terms of right now, I want to, because I caught one of your live streams the other day, and correct me if I misunderstood this. Did you have a role in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show?
I did have a very teeny, very small role, just super small, and all that whole scene got so much cut down, got shortened so much that you can practically not see me. I did see myself because I knew where I was, but yeah, it was super small, but it doesn't matter to me. What mattered that I was on set for 2 days in the middle of the coolest scene I could ever imagine in my entire life, and that experience, I guess, was way more important than seeing myself. I know there will be other opportunities to actually be in it, but just on that day, I guess it happened only twice in history, and I was there on that second time. First time I saw it in a movie theater, and the second time I was there, and that's, I guess, like just oh, it was all worth it.
How did something like that come together for you?
It's well, casting process. It's usually how it happens. A friend of mine knew someone who was looking for a person to fill in the role, and they sent my information to the casting department. And then I know there was some weeding out process, and I ended up being making it to the very end.
Mm-hmm. Cool,
Yeah,
cool,
but
cool.
I guess it definitely was because I was already visible in Star Wars community, and because it's so tight and everyone knows each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happens.
That is so cool. I personally, I love that show. I thought it was such a great show. I think like
Mm-hmm.
anything, you know, anybody in the world is going to have stuff to nitpick on here and there, for sure. But it felt to
Mm-hmm.
me like, as somebody who is old enough, I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters. I was pretty young. I was like 5 or 6. I just remember Ewoks and I thought they were cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you felt like from episode 3 to episode 4, there was just like this big gap with Obi-Wan. Like you're telling me that for 18 years he was just chilling on Tatooine and not doing anything. And
Mm-hmm.
to get some of that filled in was really great. That is so cool. So you were on the set. Now, if I understood this correctly, and because you were there, was it something that was filmed outside, or was it filmed on these famous screens that we're now hearing so much about?
Yeah, it's called the volume.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was shot inside the big volume. Yes. I guess they wanted for that scene, they cut down so many people that were supposed to be in it. They wanted someone professional who knew what they were doing. They wanted someone trustworthy who will keep it secret and, won't go around and sharing everything. So, and I wanted a particular look, I guess. So everything worked together. And like I said, it was inside, it was a closed set. Not that many people were there. And it was very, very crazy. It was like being in a theater, all day and watching like a live action theater Star Wars in front of you while being in the middle of it. It was insane.
Which what part were you in the show?
The Order 66 one.
Oh, okay. Where they were in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I've got to go back and watch, see if I can pick you out now.
You might not see me, but I'm just waiting for some documentary behind the scenes to be released. Hopefully they'll do it, because there was a guy with a camera who was filming a lot. I've seen the pictures, like a close-ups of me and everything, my character. So I just hopefully they will release something and I can show everyone. Because otherwise I'm just saying, like, no one can know for sure.
Yeah. So if it was that scene, that means that you got to spend time on set with Hayden Christensen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is he a giant jerk? Tell me he's just a giant jerk, because he seems like such a nice guy.
He's amazing. Well, he was very in it. And I know a working actor, when you have an important day scene for you, he was very much in the character, and he was very focused on what he was doing. He was super nice to everyone, and yeah, he was amazing.
Mm-hmm. I imagine, as somebody who hasn't done any acting since high school theater, I have to imagine that for somebody like Hayden, and way more about this than I do, but I feel like somebody like that who may be a nice guy, but you're a very serious actor and you're trying to shoot this scene where you're just going genocidal, like how that can kind of play with your focus a little bit. Like you're trying really hard to focus and kind of get the mindset that you're very, very angry, while at the same time trying to be nice to everybody around you. Does that give off any kind of strange vibes on set or anything?
Not really, because everyone knows what you're doing. I think it's vice versa. He was even too nice, because somebody kept talking to him and I was just like, just leave him alone, because it's a very serious scene he just has to do now, and he's just trying, like he's trying to be really nice. And I'm like, where's your assistant to tell those people to just leave you alone, because it's important for you to do this right, to be in the right mindset. But yes, it didn't give any strange vibes. You usually can read the room, read the set. Every set's different, even on a different day. So sometimes you can goof around and laugh and then just switch and you're back in the acting. But sometimes on a day like that, everything's so dark and gloomy and serious that everyone's keeping the atmosphere like that. On that day, everyone was very quiet, very focused, because the whole place seemed like you are there, and it's such a dark moment in Star Wars history that I guess everyone there's a nerd, of course. So no one wanted to even disturb the air. So it was totally crazy.
Yeah. What's their because you said they want somebody they can trust. I assume then they're pretty locked down in terms of security, in terms of any kind of leaks or anything like that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can't walk around in your normal outfit, what you're wearing, so they give you that famous black robe with a hood. So if you're going anywhere, you have to put it on so no one can take a picture of who you are in your costume. So yeah, it's pretty. But I guess everyone did very good. There was no leaks. A bunch of people that I know were stormtroopers, and everyone just we didn't even know we were there almost on the same day. And then when the show came out, I'm like, you were there too. So yeah.
So you're not allowed to just walk around holding up your phone, just taking videos and pictures of everything?
They even took, on some scenes, I know they took away people's phones. Even.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And even if someone did snap something, of course, you're not allowed to show anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's very serious, yeah.
I understand that completely. I have to, one of the things moving on from that I thought was really great was the two short fan films that you did. Fulcrum, which I thought was great. My only complaint about it was that it was short. I want it to be 2.5, maybe even 4 hours.
I wish.
Just give me the whole thing. What made you want to do that?
It's a good question. Well, I guess it's the same thing that you said about Obi-Wan, that there was this huge chunk of time not filled with anything. And for me, that was Ahsoka's time in between end of Clone Wars and between Rebels. And we have a book about it, which is, I don't know, like semi-canon, I guess. It's not canon exactly, but um, I just wanted to know what she was doing at that time, and I wanted to show my version of how she would become Fulcrum, because that's the whole idea of that supposedly like made film. Um, how she became Fulcrum and what her first steps would be, and of course to show those very important scenes of her making the lightsabers and cleansing the crystals, because that's iconic. And when she says, "You can call me Fulcrum," and that's where everything begins. So I guess just wanted to do it, and I had it in my head so vividly. And of course I couldn't do the whole film because I'm not Lucasfilm or even a studio, but what I could do, I could take 5 minutes and show it as a trailer and show all those important moments, so you could piece the story together if you wanted to, but show the important parts. So now, hopefully, I'll be able to do more short films to expand on those little snippets. It all again depends on the availability of people, on the budget, and how fast we can do it. And there's a lot when it comes to Ahsoka. It's not easy to do it. Um, to do it just fast. It has to be very thought through. It has to be good quality, as best as I can. So that's why I couldn't do it as much right away. But now I see that the response was really good. I was so scared to put that thing out there because it was the first time we would like make something Ahsoka live action, and I was so scared about doing it because, like, fans, they can just rip you apart if something's not right. But we're like, you know what, that's how we see it, and we did our best, and let's just share it with the world, and then whatever comes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely, I'm glad you put it out. I mean, the excuse me, I'm so sorry. That there was a scene in there that was well worth it, where it's like the straight on shot with you of Ahsoka walking towards the camera with the lightsabers out and the cloak flowing in the back. Like that shot was like money. I mean, it was money. It was so good. Like that, like I almost want that as like a gift to be like the wallpaper on my phone because it just looks so great. How does something like that happen in terms of bringing together a crew, finances, that kind of thing?
It's funny that you mentioned that shot because that was completely unplanned. That shot, it was just spontaneity of the moment. Well, actually, that particular shot, we just went to take some pictures. In the end of the shooting day, we just went to the location to take some shots since I was in costume already, and I saw that hallway, and we had camera with us, and I'm like, I tell Jason, who's the director, I'm like, listen, what if we do just one shot with the lightsabers walking? Because the hallway scenes, it's the Star Wars thing. Let's do it. He's like, okay. So no one was there, like no security, no nothing. So we just did it, and my feet were bleeding at that point already. But
Oh no.
yeah, but it turned out cool. So yeah, sometimes you just kind of gotta improvise and have your eyes open for possibilities. But how do you put something like that together? Well, even though it's called fan film, people who worked on it, an absolute majority of our little team, they're all professionals in their fields. So they're professional director, editor, special effects people. So everyone who worked on it are working filmmakers. So what you have to do to put them together, I guess this is where my past comes into work, organizing things and making it work, producing. So you have to have a good idea, because if the idea is not worthy, then people will not waste their time and energy on something. But if you have a good idea and you can show that you can make something good in the end, then people will be excited. Well, the people who vibe with that idea, not everyone, people who will understand your vision and who will want to make it happen, who will see that they can contribute something. And I guess at that point when I was making that thing, I already made a little 1 minute teaser before, and it was pretty fun too. Got a lot of views, so I guess people already kind of knew what to expect. So when I put it out there that, hey, I'm working on this thing, in the first one we had 5 stormtroopers. In this one, everyone just shared it with their friends, and we had 15. So it just happens like that, and you just have to produce, literally do film production. You
Hmm.
put together the whole book, production book. What do you need? What locations? What actors? What crew? What gear? What post production stuff you were thinking on? You put together a budget, then you plan the shoot. And this one was a big one because we had like 7 or 8 shoot days throughout the months to check everyone's availability. So it's a legit production. So that's why when I'm getting those questions like, oh, how can fans do something like that? I think if you're just a fan who has nothing to do with film industry, I don't think you can do it by yourself
Mhm.
because it really requires some professional experience. And if you don't have it, at least you can find people who do have it. So if you have an idea, you can have those people do the work for you. You know what I mean? Because you have to write, you have to, yeah, it's a lot, it's so much work, it's way more than people can imagine that goes into it. That's why even 5 minutes takes forever to do, especially if you have very little budget.
Hmm. Yeah, the well, I'm glad everybody worked on it because it looks amazing. It really does. And then you did the follow-up Sakura. What
Mhm.
made you want to tap into that character?
Sakura, well, I love Ayla, and I was already working on the costume. I was already working in it um for a while actually, but then I gotta, I don't know. I had to have motivation, I guess, to finish it. But the real thing was I started exploring the comics about her because I always liked her. She's very mysterious. We don't know much about her, so I'm like, okay, well, let's see. I like her look. She kind of looks like she could do things, and I started reading comics about her, and I found out this incredible lore, incredible backstory, all the things that she did. And the more I read, the more I was like, oh my gosh, how come people not know about this? I know it's legend, but everything about her, all her stories are insanely cool. And I'm like, Jason, our director, was like, look at this. It's like a ready script for her. She's one of the freaking coolest characters in Star Wars, and no one knows.
Hmm.
So we decided to show little glimpses of that to get people care about her more and to get people interested in her more. That was two goals for us. So this 5 minutes, they're just packed with Easter eggs. If you read the comics, you'll recognize where it's all coming from, but it's all references to her backstory, to the lore. And we wanted to give her more of um, unified personality. Who is Ayla? Let's put it all together, put it in a blender, and add some of me in there, and see what we can come up with, and show her, and make people care about her, and wanna find out more about those little things that she did. And I hope we did it because judging on by the reviews, people say, "Hey, we want to know more about her." So I'm like, "Okay, we'll do more."
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The because yeah, I think the most you see her in the actual movies is just her getting killed in Order 66.
Very much. It just stands there. So
Yeah, yeah. And she's a great character. And again, just like the Ahsoka one, that or Fulcrum, that was such a great film. I enjoyed it thoroughly. How much time in your life have you spent practicing lightsabers?
oh wow. You're gonna be laughing at me, but as by Fulcrum, I didn't practice at all. And for Sakura, I practiced just a few weeks. I
Hmm.
practiced the choreography that I did in the film. I did practice some since then, so I'm a little bit better now, but not nearly as much as I should, and not nearly as much as it looks like.
Hmm.
So, but now I have more motivation because I want to do more. Because the more you do it, the better you get, the more you love it. So next one, I want to do something with lightsabers, maybe an actual fight. But I love it. It's so much fun.
That would be great. So in with that, but also moving on a little bit, what is it about acting that you enjoy?
Oh, so many things. Well, a lot of actors say that it just lets you live different lives while being you and going to places where you normally wouldn't go. To me, it's telling stories. And I always loved science fiction and imaginary world, something that doesn't exist. So I always love telling stories, characters. So if you give me just a normal, real day drama, I probably won't be interested in it as much. But I like to let my imagination work. And so Star Wars, that's why I love it so much because there's so many ways you can do things.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can tell so many different stories and invent so many different lines. But I also like cyberpunk a lot because that's another aspect of it. It's very in depth, very philosophical, metaphorical. You can explore really deep subjects and topics in there, you know. Um, so acting for me is just a big part of filmmaking. It's just I'm becoming one little piece of the puzzle. But I like inventing people within me and projecting them outwards. It's like, I guess, a creative way to express yourself. And I really like the impact that it can do because it's such a powerful medium and you can tell so many um, meaningful messages through your work, through your stories. So I'm never going to be the actor who just reads the script and goes acting and enjoys the process and that's it. um, to me it's and nothing wrong with that, so I'm not saying it's bad or whatever. I'm just saying that I don't just enjoy the acting, I enjoy creating the stories, so it's just all big thing for me.
Hmm. The impactful side of it, you could like not have nailed that more in the head. I think it's so important. I mean, there are roles that actors have played that have had profound impacts on people's life in such crazy ways. You know, it sounds cheesy to say, but I remember back in probably about the mid 2000s, there was a show that I really thoroughly enjoyed, and the main character on the show was a father, and I was at a point in time where I was semi newly married. I had a new baby girl in my life. And it was sort of like, you know, you kind of, and that happens in life where you find yourselves at these like crossroads. And I remember watching the show and being so impacted by this actor's portrayal of this character and just thinking in my head, like, that's like the kind of father that I want to be. That's the kind of human being that's the kind of person that I want to be. And it came at such a critical point in my life that, you know, not that I, you know, today like walk around like that character, I'm pretending I'm that character, but even just the influence, level of influence that
Hmm.
it had on my life at that point in time. And wow, I think you nailed that right on the head. And I don't think that gets I don't think that gets talked about much. You know, we spend so much time talking about actors and what roles they're in and how much money they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not enough time talking about the impact they're playing. I mean, you look at Alec Guinness playing Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. I mean, the impact that had on people's lives, and that aspect of it, I think, doesn't get talked about near as much.
Yeah, it can be very profound, and especially you'll see the difference when actor plays a character and there's something different about them. Usually that's because they're putting something internally truthful to the character. It means that they're basing that character on some of their own experience or their own thoughts. So it's real. It might be a different name, different circumstance, but what they're telling you, that truth, it's a real truth of a real person. And that's why I guess the best actors are the ones with the most life experience later in life. Almost always, the older they get, the better they get, not just in their craft, but because of how much they go through as a person. And the ability of an actor to be a good actor is to translate that internal into your character and show it outwardly. It's, I guess, the hardest thing to do. It sounds very simple, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And the good actors are people who are intelligent, who are wise, who have experience, who feel things very deeply and understand them, and who can show that through a character. And I guess those are the ones you're talking about. It's the people who can impact you through their roles over and over. And like Ewan McGregor, right? For one, every role he plays, it's very impactful. It doesn't matter what character it is. For someone, it will hit in the feels because that's his truth. And like, you know, Moulin Rouge, it's a musical, you know, romantic and everything, but the man who loses his love, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he must have lost someone, I don't know, but he was able to show that so well. And now Obi-Wan or whatever he's doing, so um the power in that is incredible. So to me, acting, it's not just putting on the outfit and, you know, saying the lines and being this badass kick-ass chick or whatever. It's not about that. Even if you're playing that kind of character, it's always important to put some substance behind it. Like Wonder Woman for me is that, right? Let's say pop culture. It's not just a beautiful girl in armor, you know, punching bad guys. It's about humanity and the kindness and being so gracious, and, you know, her arc is incredible because she learns about those things. So I guess That's why it's a responsibility. If you taking yourself to be the voice, I mean, making yourself to be the voice of that character, of that message, you have to think really well about what you're going to do with it and how it's going to impact people. And that's what, for me, Star Wars is a very comfortable world to do it with. I understand it. I resonate with it. So through those characters, it's almost like um, it's much more fun. I don't have to explore something that's very foreign. Like I said, if you give me some drama, I'm going to put people in the trailer for 2 hours discussing their traumatized childhood, I probably won't be good at that. I don't know, but it would be very, very foreign. But Star Wars, metaphors, that's what it is. It's metaphors. It's not just space.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same stories, same people, just somewhere else with a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Who Ahsoka is, it's a leader. What my country is going through right now, she is the inspiration. If I am to make a difference, what do I do? What kind of person I want to be? Ayla, it's the same thing. What's more important, your mission or your intuition, your feelings, your friends? And how do you combine the two? How you balance what you were raised to be and what you really are. It's
Mm-hmm.
those messages that are so important, and through Star Wars, it's almost like it's easier to communicate it to younger people or to someone who usually doesn't like to get into heady stuff. So it's all very subtle, but it's possible to do, and that's why I love it so much.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have certain roles or certain archetypes that you tend to gravitate towards, or ones that you prefer?
Definitely, how everyone talks about typecast. Like, oh, I'm getting typecast. I get typecast all the time. I love it because I love the type that I get cast for. It's usually some kind of someone who can do action, someone who's proactive, but who has also a vulnerable side. If you want, like, I don't know, characters that are similar. Um, Well, Jyn Erso, Lara Croft, anyone who's feminine but yet has some internal strength. Someone who's mysterious, could be bad sometimes. I love all of these characters because they always have some dilemmas inside. Iden Versio, Star Wars, right? So usually I like to play complex characters, and even on the surface they might not have that, I will add it. I will find a way to do it. Oh, want a funny story? So once I got cast to play this single mom who becomes this like a victim, whatever. She witnesses the murder, and then she has to be taken into custody, and she's so scared and terrified. And I'm like, that's something new. I've never played a mom, single mom, and the one who's actually a victim needs to be protected. I'm like, this is very interesting. So when I got offered that role, I auditioned for the main role. I auditioned to be the cop chick who does the whole investigation, and they're like, "No, you want to play the single mom character?" I'm like, "Okay, it's new." So I agreed. So when I met with the director, and she pulled me aside at the first rehearsal, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, there's something you need to know about your character, but don't tell anyone else." I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" And she says, "Well, in the very end, it turns out that she's the main criminal mastermind behind everything."
Oh.
She's the main bad guy, but she
Oh.
pretends like she's not because she has her own things. And I'm like, of course, why did I not see this coming? I'm like, because I was like, why do they want me to play this innocent single mom girl? Like, I don't get the vibe of that. It's just like, okay, and nah, that's your answer. Like, she's the main bad guy. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Yeah, so that happens.
How much of that, in that particular instance, how much does that change your approach to the role then?
Well, you do change a little bit because you do want to hint with your performance that you're up to something, because otherwise then it'll come out of nowhere. But it's only in how you say things. It's internal monologue basically. You're not doing anything particular, not doing anything with your face or something like that. It would be wrong. You just change your internal monologue, and it will reflect in how you do the scene, how you portray the character. Because instead of now thinking like, oh no, I'm so terrified, where's it gonna do, what they put me in jail, what's gonna happen to my daughter, oh no, I'm gonna lose everything. So instead of that, you're gonna be thinking like, okay, everything going according to plan, something, this guy might be suspicious, but I'll make it work. So you think different thoughts and the vibe changes.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it's interesting.
You don't like change your delivery from like I wasn't there to I wasn't there and I didn't see it. Like you're not going that. No. Okay.
No, you don't do that. But it also always depends on on one particular film or role or character scene, or how director wants you to do it. Sometimes director will tell you like, oh, when you say this line, do that, and you're like, okay, to give a hint. It's all up to them.
What project was that?
It was a show called Hard Town.
Hard Town.
Hard Town, yeah.
Because now I feel like I got to look it up. So
yeah,
that looks interesting. The now obviously we've discussed Star Wars. What other geekdom, nerddom realms do you enjoy as well?
Well, my favorite one would be Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite universe and favorite film. Apart from Star Wars, I really liked Arcane, the show.
Oh, yes.
That really resonated a lot on all levels. So I guess these three would be my favorite, but I pretty much like any good sci-fi. I've been watching The Orville recently.
That's such a great show.
Such a good show. So something like that also. It just really depends on how good it is. And I also watched Timeless recently.
I don't think I've seen that one.
If you haven't seen it, it's also science fiction about time travel. It's incredible. I enjoyed it so much. It's one of those like really good ones. Well written, well acted, fantastic characters, very educational because it's all time travel to history. So
okay.
Yeah, so that one was incredible. Yeah, and if we talk like normal life, I really like Girl with Dragon Tattoo, the books and the movies. It's all dark and sweet and all. But pretty much, yeah, it's more or less science fiction and moody. But both of this even better.
Now, as you enjoy all that, and as you are also somebody who is an actor, can you look back on your life or even like currently and think of certain actors who you feel like have been important to you or who have influenced you or have inspired you?
There were definitely a few, and I keep discovering like those actors, which is really cool. My favorite actor since I was probably 14 was Christian Bale. So for a very long time, he is very, very in depth with his roles, and there's things to learn from him. So each actor is inspiring in their own way, how they do a certain thing. So he's very into his characters, very dedicated. So I love that. And I always loved Vivian Lee. Of course, Gone with the Wind. That's the one I saw her first when I was little, and that's a completely different story because old Hollywood. It's a different epoch era, and she was just so stunning and so interesting on screen. And it's a different acting school because it was so long ago. It changes how people are acting now, but it's good to learn just the gracefulness she had. I think it got a really big impact on me. Who else? Oh, there's so many amazing actors I really love. But basically, if there's a charisma on screen, I get attracted to it. I really love actors with theater background, mostly British, like Tom Hiddleston. Someone who, even in a role that's very sci-fi and maybe not that serious, they bring that depth to it. So I'm learning that. Benedict Cumberbatch, of course. Any good actor really has something to teach me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that who else? I love Kate Blanchett.
Mm-hmm.
She's just mesmerizing. I like actors that you just can't take your eyes off. She appears on screen and that's it. Like, you just only want to watch her for days.
Right. Yeah, for sure. The God, Kate Blanchett, and I thought it was a crime in the movie Thor Ragnarok, which I loved, but there were so few actual on-screen interactions between Tom Hiddleston and Kate Blanchett. Like I could watch a whole movie of just
Yeah,
those two. Like
yeah,
I don't even care what roles they're playing. I really don't. Like they could
yeah,
be Abraham and Mrs. Lincoln. Fine, I'll watch it. I will pay
yeah.
top dollar to see it too. You know, because they're just two actors that can play any role, and you're going to be excited to see it.
It's like Ryan Gosling for me is that person. Some people don't like him at all, and some people really like him. But he is to me a master of internal dialogue. So, like in Blade Runner 2049, I said I could watch him for 5 hours just walking around the city, not saying anything, because he's so good at showing you just a little bit, and then you make everything up in your head, and that's a talent.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing, if they show you everything you need to see, and then another one is they give you just enough so you can imagine whatever it is you want to imagine.
Right. Yeah, and part of the problem I think with that is I think there are times where people they may say they don't like an actor, but when you think about it, it's really more they don't like the genre that actor's in,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that a lot. Like I can look at somebody who, is an actor who may be known for being in a certain genre of movies or TV or something like that is not at all my cup of tea, but I
Yeah.
can still look at it and admire, the work that they put into it. I even laugh, like there's sometimes I'll be on TV and every once in a while I'll get bored and get on YouTube or Hulu or something like that, and I'll watch like old 80s sitcoms and stuff like that. And sometimes you just take it and appreciate it, like, this isn't that well known of a show, not even that well known of an episode, but that actor is working their ass off in that scene. I mean, you just got
Yeah.
to appreciate that. Like,
Yeah.
you're right there. And it comes down to I think the science of acting, which I find fascinating. And I find fascinating the amount of different like approaches that people take to the roles, like Christian Bale, who you were saying. Have you seen Thor Love and Thunder yet?
Not yet, no.
Oh yes,
I
you'll
know
have to
he's in it.
do me a gigantic favor if you would be willing. When you do finally see it, whenever it is, just message me and tell me what you thought of his
Okay.
performance. This is great. In my opinion, it was great. I absolutely loved it. But
Okay.
if you haven't
I'll
seen it,
watch
I'm
it.
not going to say anymore because I don't want to spoil anything.
I'll watch. I've heard things about it. I'll watch it. Or like Oscar Isaac is the other one.
Oh my god,
He can play anyone, anywhere, and I'll watch it all day.
that guy.
That guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot to learn, but what I see is the whole thing about every single one of them, it's of course talent, but it's charisma and it's dedication to
Mm-hmm.
their work. It's a respect to their work, and that's what I was saying. It's very internal. All of these people, they find their internal truth that they put in the role one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this together makes them so irresistible.
Right. Yeah. And the one thing that I love about actors who I find who are really great, and Oscar Isaac is one of them. I think Tom Hiddleston is one of them as well. And even Christian Bale, is that I love actors, especially who are theater actors, who aren't concerned about what project they're doing based upon their personal status in the tiers of Hollywood as much as they are, is it a good story?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, he was even that way with Alec Guinness. I mean, at the time George Lucas got Alec Guinness to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, I mean, here was like a famous actor.
Yeah.
It just won a bunch of awards, I think, for Bridge on the River Kwai, I believe.
Hmm.
And here's this punk out of USC who wants to do a space opera. And how does a guy like that even begin to convince somebody like Alec Guinness
I
to
don't know
be in
how
the
he
movie?
convinced him. It's yeah.
Alec Guinness said it was a great script. He read the script and said, okay, let's do it. And those are the kind of actors I admire, people who are like,
Mhm.
they'll take a chance on those things just because they love the story that they're telling.
Yeah. Yes, that's why a lot of people who already are not concerned with money any longer. They just will do some indie film somewhere, even in Europe, especially actors from there. They just go into some indie films, and who cares if it's in some festival, if it's a good. Who does it actually? There's someone who does it a lot lately. Oh, I don't want to say the name because I'm not sure. I know Daniel Radcliffe did something like that, but there are a lot of those actors who just want to break the stereotype of what they've been playing, want to do something different. So they just go to some indie films. And I think it's great because there's so many talented people out there that are not as known, especially in filmmaking. There are directors, there are actors, especially if you watch those shows like Timeless. What really amazed me that actors they picked for secondary characters in each episode who sometimes played historical figures, they were brilliant. I'm like, where did they find those people? They literally have 5 minutes of screen time. They should be on big screen because that amount of talent and everything. I was just like, what? You have 5 minutes of time. The girl who played, there's an episode about Bonnie and Clyde when they traveled to meet Bonnie and Clyde. The girl who played Bonnie, I looked her up. I'm like, why didn't I see her before? She's just incredible. And the girl who played, oh gosh, Josephine, can't remember. It's a famous 1920 singer, and she worked for the Allies in Second World War. She was like a spy. Josephine, is it Briggs? Josephine Briggs?
I'm drawing a blank on that one. I got to be
I think,
honest.
okay, I have to look. I just brain freeze. Yeah, the girl's Tiffany Daniels, I think, that played her. What? Like she was insanely good. And the guy who plays one of the bad guys on the show, he's been on TV a while. He did some good projects, but I'm like, what? Put him in a main role in a big blockbuster or a big movie because he can pull it off. It's incredible. So it's just amount of talent out there is insane. So it's good when people who are already up there they help the ones who need an extra push.
Yeah, and I felt that way about Sophie Turner, who played Sylvie in the Loki series. Like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's this phenomenal actor, and you're like, where has she been? Like, what rock were you people keeping her under? Because she's phenomenal.
And then you look out their thing and you think they're out of nowhere. They're not. And these people have 10, 15 years of work consistently. And it's only now that they're seen. But you know how much work is behind that. So I'm glad that they finally get this breakout.
Yes, for sure. Aside from the acting, being a singer that you are, what kind of, and this is like a total like gear shift here. What kind of music do you personally enjoy?
It really depends. I can listen to any genre. It just depends on the song. If the song is good and touches me, I will listen to it. But my favorite is soundtracks. Always soundtrack music because it's a story, and usually the amount of thought that's put into it, the depths, the visuals that I can see in my head when I'm listening to it, that's usually my favorite, whether it's just a song or if it's just instrumental. That's the only ones I can listen to in a loop, like listen to, on repeat, because otherwise I can't. It triggers my ADHD, whatever it is I have. Like it distracts me too much. But soundtrack, yes, my favorite. That's the music I like to sing and write mostly, and that's what I listen to.
Can you okay, here's a question. This is like very serious. This is like the ultimate get to know somebody question, by the way.
Okay.
That involves music. Like let's say you have to go underground. You have to go underground. You have to live in like a shelter for the rest of your days. And you're rushed to get down there. You are allowed to take 5 bands with you or musical acts, and I don't mean the actual like band. Like you don't get to take Metallica down there with you. You don't take
too bad.
Yeah, I mean I'd be in heaven. But basically, like if you say the Beatles, then you get to take the entire Beatles catalog. All right, but you get to pick 5. Which 5 are you going with?
Okay, 5. I would take Madonna. I would take Imagine Dragons. I would take Hans Zimmer. I don't know, it's not a band, but I would take Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
I would take Aha, the Swedish band. And I have one more. What would I take? Maybe, okay, I said Madonna, right? So I have one more. The final winner. Who would go? I'm just going in my head through my soundtrack collection. Alan Menken.
Alan Menken. Okay. That's a pretty eclectic bunch. I like that.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, Metallica almost made it.
Almost. We were this close to being buddies. That is yeah, that's I've found that over the course of time that is such a great question to ask somebody because you get to know so much in such a short amount of time. I hope that never happens where you're stuck with just, those five. But yeah, especially that was interesting. I've never had somebody say like Hans Zimmer, like a composer, but I think that's really cool. Like that's a, I mean, that in of itself is semi eclectic. There,
Yeah.
just the pure volume of work he's done on different kind of projects. Yeah, that's a cool. I like that answer. The okay. After that, the next question I have is, what would being into everything that you're into and being the actor that you are and creative, what would be like some of the dream roles for movies or TV shows that, like, if you could have a genie and could get wishes, what ones would you go with?
Good question. Okay, so there's we're gonna leave Ahsoka aside, right? Because that's
Right.
like a no-brainer. Well, obviously in Star Wars, anything that would fit me and any cool character would be great. But the role, like an exact character, there is a series called Grim Space.
Okay.
And it's a book series, sci-fi, and it has one of the coolest main characters ever. It's this pilot, navigator lady who literally goes on a journey from being a thug and a criminal to being one of the most important people in the galaxy who is just saving the world, and her adventures on the way. And it would make an incredible series. I wish I could make it. Maybe one day I will. I would like to play her. It's so much. Even her language changes how she speaks. But anyways, so yeah, Jax. Her name's Jax. I would like to play Jax. What else? Is it like based on a book or something?
Whatever. Like whether it's a franchise that's already out there, something you'd love to adapt. I mean, you name it. If you're like, man, I really feel like, the Flintstones needs a reboot here, and I'm gonna get Oscar Isaac and Tom Hiddleston in here, and we're gonna do this thing.
I would not be in it. I would play their whatever they have, the dino. If they did that with those actors, like I'd play the dino, just get me in there. I would love to play a character in Blade Runner. Well, we're talking about main characters, right? Because obviously it's what everyone wants to do. But yeah, Blade Runner, anything in Blade Runner would be amazing. Either an actual Blade Runner or a replicant. I would love to play something like Equilibrium, and actually we already did a short film like that, but it would be great to do something like a full movie, but just updated, something futuristic, dystopian, very dark, something that has to do with human nature. But I can think of an exact book. But yeah, any role that would require some action, some drama, something science fiction-y.
Yeah.
Maybe I would love to play a character in Wheel of Time. There's just so many, literally, there's just so many characters. But, anything that would fit me would be fun.
Right. Gosh, that's great you mentioned Equilibrium. That's such an underrated movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was Christian Bale and Sean Bean, right?
Yeah.
Yes. God, that was such a good movie. And I don't know why it's not like more highly regarded, especially in nerd circles, because it was such a fan. And action wise, like the choreography in that movie was just, because I remember watching like a behind the scenes and they had like a choreographer who like basically created a style of martial arts that involves like handguns. And you see them like use it in the movie. And every time I watch that movie, I'm just blown away by probably the amount of time they had to spend just rehearsing and choreographing those fight scenes, because they were and action aside, it's just a great story. I mean, the storyline to it is fantastic. Gosh dang it. Now I gotta go watch it.
I guess I didn't know about this film. It was I did my idea first and then I watched the film, and I see how it's a little bit separate, but I would love to do a full feature. It's not exactly like that, but it's also a dystopian world where certain things are forbidden
Mm-hmm.
because this society wants to keep people just complacent and gray and not feel anything,
Mm-hmm.
not do art, not create. And so my character that I played in a short film, she's the one that breaks the rule and gets into trouble. So that would be fun to do that. But you know what's interesting now that you're saying that, it's the original ideas that I want to play because. There is a character for me that I'm playing in a pilot for the TV series, which is exactly that. She's a very old, like a fighter with the dark forces on Earth. And she's very like dark and brooding, but very cool. And then there's another film which is dystopian in future, and my character is one of the like how to say um, one of the girls clan that survives on their own, and she's the one that starts to question the way of things, like whether the
Mm.
girls should just be by themselves or should they actually not try to kill all the men that they see. So it little rebellion, yeah. But anyways, it's just our projects, our own, that we develop, and hopefully one day we'll get to film them because they're incredible. And I guess it's just interesting to do something original that people haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm. So when we look at your resume, we shouldn't like check the box conformist because that's one thing I'm not picking up on through all this. And I
No.
love it. I love it so much. Well, that is really cool. The well, we're getting about up to the clock here. Anything you want to say to folks on the way out?
Wisdom of the day. Well, yeah. Um, I just wanted to encourage everyone to follow whatever it is you guys want to achieve in your life. And even though things may seem dark sometimes and hopeless, remember there's a new day, a new beginning, like Ahsoka Tano said, and keep keep being a better person each day. Don't compare yourself to anyone but you yesterday, because you're your ultimate competition. And make good choices for you and for the people you care about, especially if something big is at stake. You know, fight for the good, and help in any way you can those who do it, those who need it, because right now there's so many things happening in the world, and tomorrow is not guaranteed. So I guess every day needs to be lived with that thought that what did I do today to leave something good behind.
Mm-hmm. I love it so very much. And I want to personally thank you for taking time out of your evening to come on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I look forward to everything that's coming your way in the future. And once again, thank you. And I hope I get to talk to you again in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. I was really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, everyone. So that was the episode with Rei. I hope you enjoyed it. She is just a lot of fun to talk to. I want to thank everybody out there for doing everything you do to support this podcast. And to all those of you who are new, thank you for coming on this journey with us. I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, I want to say I love all you. Hope you take care of each other, and we'll talk to you next time.